Hi guys, it's me, Kathy, Mrs. Handy Are You? I'm back again, and I want to wish you guys Happy New Year. I'm not sure exactly when this is going up, but it's close to New Year's, so I know this New Year is going to be better. It's going to be 100% better, and it's going to be 2022, and 222 in angel numbers is blessings. I learned that from Michelle Fielding, and yeah, and this coming year, 2022, will be in the Chinese calendar. It will be what? The year of the tiger, which is a big deal because right now in the 2021, we've been in the year of the ox, and that means getting the ground ready and working hard in tilling the soil. And then next year would be the year of the tiger, which sounds like action and things happening and movement, because tigers don't just sit around. So, you know, something's going to happen. I don't know what. So we'll have to wait and see, right? So, anyway, I have I think you're going to like it. It's a really good decode on, it's like about a, it's not very long. It's a video on YouTube that's 8 minutes and 41 seconds long. But of course, I can make it longer than that, because I talk. But the name of the video is it's about the Zapruder film, Z like zebra. So Zapruder film 313 for 313, the JFK assassination, and then there's a slash, 100 photos, and then another slash, and then time capitalized because they did it for this video was done for Time magazine. So it's an official video. It's not like me. I'm like totally unofficial. So, you know, take that for what it's worth. But so the man who was presenting this video, his name was Richard B. Stoller. I can't remember if it was an S. I think it's Stoller, Stoller. And his name adds up to 171. And I like to look at things like that because a lot of times these are white hat kind of videos, and I want to see what's going on with the names. So it says blow your mind for his name. And this video is about those few seconds that supposedly Mr. Zapruder happened to get um, of President Kennedy being shot and his head going. Anyway, blow your mind matches his name. Not a coincidence. Um, the true Jesus matches his name. The final countdown matches this reporter's name. So he's the reporter who went to Mr. Zapruder and negotiated to get the Zapruder film for his company. It wasn't Time, which is what the video is for, but he was negotiating way back then for Life magazine, which is in all caps. If you've never seen a Life magazine, it's very big, oversized. Um, yeah, and it's Life in all capitals. I think it came out every week. So that's what this is all about. It's this Richard Stoller um, giving the information about how he acquired the Zapruder film for Life magazine. And so I decoded Life magazine, and it's 108, and it's equals boom week ahead, just like our favorite Anon said in one of the posts way back. It equals Joe Kennedy, and I'm always talking about Joseph Patrick Kennedy Jr., you know. Um, and then it equals Life magazine at 108 also equals reincarnated. And I'm doing simple gematria on gematrix.org, and it's A equals 1 through Z equals 26. That's how I'm getting these. Life magazine also matches Little Joe, which can be Joe Kennedy, can also be Little Joe from Bonanza. I got it wrong last time. But Michael Landon, I don't know if you can see it, but I have Little House on the Prairie videos up there. Okay. Life magazine at 108 also equals Fitzgerald. It equals mannequin, because it wasn't him in the limo. We've been talking about that. Life magazine equals Dealey Plaza. It equals Plastic Man. And it equals blowout. You know, like the head and everything, what we saw on the Zapruder film. So I thought that was pretty cool. All these things matching 108 and Life magazine. And it made me think of another Sherlock Holmes plot that I don't have written down here, but there was one, I think, oh yeah, it was called The Empty House with Jeremy Brett. And it made me think of somebody was after Sherlock, and yeah, so Sherlock had a mannequin made of himself with a wax head. And remember how wax keeps coming up all the time in these Sherlock Holmes decodes? So I think we're going to see wax on Jackie's dress, you know, not just the fake blood and everything. There's going to be some kind of wax, because that's probably what the head was made out of, or at least part of it. Anyway, so I thought about that plot with the empty house, and there was an air rifle involved. It was kind of elaborate. He showed how it worked at the very end. It was kind of like a crank thing. It wasn't like a regular rifle, and it shot like a snub kind of bullet. So I don't know if that's what was used to set this whole scenario off, but I thought I'd work on it. And air rifle happens to equal 78, which happens to equal Kennedy. I mean, you know, like, there are no coincidences, I don't think. That's what our favorite Anon said. Yeah, so 78 matches air rifle. So there you go with that one. So let's see, where did I leave off? Sorry. Okay. Oh yeah. So I already told you what Life magazine equaled. So now we're going to, and that was at 22 seconds that he said that. He mentioned Life magazine the first time, and 22 is like 2 times the Cabal's, what is it? One of their numbers is 11. So that's partly why 22 was picked. But you're going to find out, if you haven't watched the other 2 videos about this, that they made it look like the Cabal did it because the Cabal was after him and Jackie, I'm sure. But they didn't make it. They took themselves out of the picture, like faking their death, just like our Junior did. And that's why Junior did it. I mean, it's all historical. This keeps happening over and over and over again, because they need to be here to save us right now, literally. Yeah. So there's a lot of fake deaths going on. And if you've seen any of my, not mine, but the Clouseau videos I mention all the time, you'll see so many people that you thought were dead are alive. And it's Clous, only one S, EAU. It's kind of like Clouseau, the Pink Panther kind of bumbling detective, like those movies. But this one has one S, and it shows all kinds of people that are alive that you didn't think were. So that's exciting. And I was at one of them, maybe even more than one, but I definitely one that turned into a Clouseau video, and I saw all kinds of great people. I saw Martin Luther King, and he was younger and all healed. He was right behind POTUS, off to his. If you facing POTUS, it was off to the right as you're looking at him, and he had a costume on. He had like dreadlocks and big round glasses and a hat, and he kept adjusting his costume and everything. But it was Martin Luther King. I went back and I checked his photo with all these old photos, like when he was real young. It's definitely him. Um, we saw Marty Feldman from he played Igor in Young Frankenstein, with the funny eyes. And I can't remember who else was it. Mike Douglas, and who's from another, a generation even beyond me, which is that's way beyond me. He was a talk show host, and around the time Dinah Shore was doing things, and Doris Day, and all those guys. So yeah, he looks like he's here, and Martin Luther King looks really good. So you should look at it. It was the Manchester, New Hampshire. Must have been the 2021 rally in February. So you can look that up on RSBN, which I think is on Rumble now. I'm pretty sure they're on Rumble. If not, it's BitChute. And you'll see him. He's got these long dreadlocks, and you go back and look at the old images of him. Do a search on his name, and then look at images up at the top. Click on images, and you'll see it. You might have to search a little bit because there's not very many, and they keep seeming to come and go. Sometimes you find them, sometimes you don't. So, yeah, and the one where he's in jail, I think it might have been Birmingham. I don't remember, for one of the marches. He's turned, and he's got a profile with his number showing, and that really helped me figure out who he really was. So take a look at that, and look at the rally pictures where he's off to POTUS's shoulder, like a little bit to the upper right, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So can you imagine Martin Luther King alive, and how great that'll be, and bringing people together, because everybody loved him. And it's so exciting to think about, isn't it? It's awesome. Anyway, I got to get to the point. I'm sorry. Um, so I was working on this film that was about the Zapruder film being acquired for Life magazine. And let's see. So he said, Zapruder, this is from Richard, the reporter. He narrates the whole thing. So he said Zapruder expressed embarrassment about the whole situation. Well, embarrassment is 148, and that equals simple gematria. I mean, come on. It equals Donald J. Trump. That's 148. The Trinity, all three of them together, is one. Essential info, and my name is Lord. So can't get any more obvious than that. Yeah, that's just from embarrassment, So much in here. um, and then he said, I decoded that because it was at a certain timestamp. I think it was at 45 seconds, which is POTUS 45. Then at 46 seconds, they went into negotiating. They're talking about that for the Zapruder film. And that was 121. That equals Second Coming, Code to Find God, and Tiffany Blue, our color, Tiffany Blue. And it equals Don Trump. So, oh, I'm sorry, there's more. I told you is 121. And this is the funny one. I see dead people is 121. That's because they're not dead. No regrets, because the guys that we're talking about, Jackie and all the guys, and Carolyn, I don't want to say guys for them because they're so beautiful. Although I call you guys, and I don't take anything offense from that. Anyway, yeah, they don't have any. They do feel a little bad about what happened, and they want forgiveness from us. But they don't have regrets, and I think they would do it all over again because it was necessary to do this. Anyway, another match to 121 for negotiating is Still Alive. Then we have at 50 seconds, It Was Him. That's equals 102. And Homecoming, I Am Yeshua. Scotty, and that's my dad's nickname. He passed on. That's my right here. And also, there's a video I did, not because of him, but I was doing it because of Revelation 11, and I did it, and it's called "Beam Me Up, Scotty." So you might want to look at that. So then the gentleman continues. It was him, this middle-aged garment manufacturer. He's talking about Zapruder. So middle-aged is 64. Well, not really, but anyway, that's what they're saying. And it equals movie. You know how we're in a movie? And then it equals is real. And then 0, like 0 is real. You could put it together like that. And 0, and then true. All of those things, all of those words are 64, which matches the funny thing that he put in there, middle-aged. And then garment manufacturer is 219, and that equals second coming of Christ, biblical great awakening, the great awakening. Who was that masked man? And that's from the Lone Ranger. He had the black mask on and everything. And that, because it wasn't him in the limo. Who was that masked man? Well, it wasn't even him. Okay, then at minute 7. Back there, he said. And that's 73, which is Joseph, for my Joseph Patrick. And Hermit is 73. And Janine on Sending Ravens, she gets an old hermit or an ancient hermit all the time when she's doing her stuff. So we get also that they're all separately 73. So I already said Joseph. This is 73 as well. Loves. And then 73 is flying. So Joseph loves flying. And Joseph Patrick loved flying. He was a World War II pilot. And Joseph is now our junior, in my opinion. I don't know, not everybody agrees. That's fine. Anyway, in my opinion, that he's now junior, and junior loves flying, So one and the same. Also, that 73, I'm sorry, I didn't do 73 yet. Excuse me, the life reporter said something like, in the press bus. He was talking about that they were behind the limo. So he mentioned the press bus where all the cameramen were. And that's 119, which equals electric brain, because Kennedy wasn't real. Remember, we're talking about robotic automatons, at least him. Likely not Jackie, I'm thinking now, but at least for JFK. So electric brain, and then paramount. Now, paramount can mean, it's paramount that we get this done, most important, but it can also mean Paramount, the movie production company, because we're in a movie. Then at 135, and it's for 35, the POTUS 35, he saw the bulletins. So bulletins is 114, and believe it or not, it equals ready, aim, fire. It equals keystone. And remember, we're always told way long time ago to look for the keystone over and over again. And then we have performance, acting, right? So performance is 114. Then we have JFK Junior spelled out. Junior, Junior, is 114. And so funny is 114. And the masked man is 114. So then we have a couple of things from my white hat flappy things on the flagpole. Tunguska, Tunguska, and that's called the Tunguska event, which they say was like a comet or something, or a huge meteor coming into Russia and leaving a massive crater. But I've got a feeling it was really from something else. That's a whole nother story. Rising Tide is 114. Accidental War is 114. So there you go. Accidental War. Let's see. At 1:38, all you could hear were bells ringing. There was no talking, nothing was happening, but there was a whole bunch of bells ringing. So I did bells ringing, obviously, and it's 128, and that equals breaking news, April 1st, like April Fool's Day. It's a joke, it's not real. Um, and telekinesis. Now, I thought telekinesis was only where someone tried to use their mind to move an object remotely, but I decided to look up the definition, and there's a second definition for telekinesis, and I'll just read it. It's movement or motion in an object, animate or inanimate. That's the key, inanimate, produced without contact with the body, producing motion. So it could be something inanimate and you're not touching it, but it produces motion. So that kind of made sense that telekinesis was there. So that could definitely happen. And then we have Walter Cronkite talking, and he was talking about what happened with President Kennedy. He was like the CBS News anchorman. Everybody watched their favorite of, there were three big nightly news reports, and he was one of them at CBS. And he took off his glasses and he said, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. And taking glasses off seems to be code because Susan Warnick of Channel 5, which I'm pretty sure was CBS in Boston, did the exact same thing when she said John F. Kennedy was down. I'm not sure if it was when the plane was missing or when they definitely said he was gone. But she took her glasses off too. So it's a signal. I'm thinking they knew that it was fake because Walter Cronkite had done an interview with JFK about 2 or 3 months before the incident on 11/22, and he was going back and forth. JFK was giving you all these comms in his speech about, I'm going away, I'm sorry, but I'll come back. It'll be traumatic, but I'll come back. That was all through his interview with Walter Cronkite, and Walter Cronkite was giving comms like, yeah, I know you're going away and you're coming back. Like it was so weird. So Walter Cronkite knew what was going on, that it wasn't real, that what was happening, but there's probably nothing he could do about it. Weird, I know, but that's what I have gotten from it. So let's see. So I did Walter Cronkite just for fun. It's 174. It equals the storm is coming. Trust the plan. Currency reset. So all these key phrases. Secret societies, which is the JFK speech he did at the Waldorf to all the news agencies. Conversations. And Juan O'Savin says conversations all the time. So he's talking about all these things kind of when he's saying conversations. So then I thought, I did Walter Cronkite, so I thought, well, I'm going to do takes off glasses, because it's such a key thing that's happening, but there's no, but you don't hear him say, yeah, I'm going to take my glasses off, but he does. Anyway, it's 165. It equals prove the past, resurrection, and connect the dots, remote viewing. So And even our military uses remote viewing to find out what the enemy's doing. It's very interesting. Um, then, then I took apart that phrase, or the two phrases that he said when he was announcing that he passed away. So at 144, so that's two 22s, Cronkite said, President Kennedy died, so I did that. So that's 210. It equals traumatic experience, which is so true. It equals FALSE dash FLAG, a false flappy thing on a pole. That equals President Kennedy died because it was a FF. It wasn't real. Isn't that cool that that matches? I'm losing my voice, sorry. And then another one that matches President Kennedy died. It's kind of obvious. And then the hidden witnesses. So they're going to come out and talk about all this. They probably already did, given all the evidence. Then Central Standard Time. I mean, he didn't even have to say that. He could have said in Dallas. So he said Central Standard Time. That's 201. And let's see. Figure it out yet. And it's kind of obvious, which is, no, I'm sorry. Knowledge is power. That's the right one. Figure it out yet. All those are 201. And then the best one in this group for Central Standard Time is Walter Elias Disney. And the last couple of videos I've been talking about the Disney's robotic, animatronic, whatever you want to call it, automaton. They look like they're real and they move and they talk. The Hall of Presidents. So look it up if you haven't seen these before. And then at 146, Abraham Zapruder, which I'm sure is a made-up name, is 153. And that equals John Kennedy Jr. Like, what are the odds that these things all match together? Like, the odds are zero that it's a coincidence. So 153 is also see you soon, stop the fraud. They talk about the vote, but stop the fraud, like stop the fake stuff, right? Hello, Hoover Dam. And that's back to the white hat flappy things. And then nuclear, WARHEADS. And remember, don't worry about all that stuff. It's going to be like World War III, but it won't be happening. Let's see. So the Life magazine reporter said he looked for Zapruder, the name Zapruder, in the phone book. And if you're real young, you're going, what's the phone book? The phone book used to be like a, big fat book, and everybody's name was in there alphabetically, and you had yellow pages with businesses listed alphabetically. It was very cool, But we don't really get phone books anymore unless you ask for one from the phone company. Anyway, so he looked for his name in the phone book. And that was at 155, so I decided that was important because it was 5 by 5, which is like comms for us. So anything on the fives, as I call it, is important. So phone book is 101. 101 equals decoding ID, and it also equals CSEE Holmes, HOLMES, like my Sherlock Holmes that we've been working on the last couple videos. So it's right there. So we've been working on that. It's so cool. So then another phrase the reporter said, jumped out at me, is 164. And as the limo went behind the sign, which we haven't really gotten to yet, but the limo went behind a sign, and I'm thinking possibly that's when JFK jumped out and got in a cab, or there might be another thing that he did. He could have acted like somebody else with a limp, pretended like he was just totally somebody else. And I remember he had changed his jacket too, and that's probably because that was the point where it wasn't him anymore. So the person, whatever had the jacket on, was likely, that's the point when it wasn't him. Um, okay, another 164 is everlasting life. And then at 202, and I did that because it's a 22, this is always the reporter talking, I started calling that number. So I picked the phrase calling that number. That's 180. It equals boom 4 times. It equals near death experience. 180. So, like, near death experience didn't happen. Just a near death experience, right? Um, and then 217, Mr. Zapruder, he said, is 140. And it says, um, the living one, Jesus twin. I was talking about Junior and JFK were born twins, and Junior is a couple minutes older than JFK, so he's really the older one. Um, yeah, so that's really cool. Um, okay, then, so the three of us went into the whitewashed room. So it's kind of odd that he picked whitewashed room. So I did whitewashed, that's 125, and that equals John Kennedy. So that's neat. And it equals undercover, like hiding. It equals the God twin, which is what I was just talking about with JFK and Junior are twins, and Junior being the older. The hidden son, all is revealed, 125. Then he said at 253, and the 53 is a reverse 35, so I decided to do that one. Old rickety 8mm projector. And old rickety sounded funny. And then we have 8 for God and infinity. So old rickety is 122. It equals JFK Jr. lives. Events begin. It's Jesus. A wheel and a wall. And President Trump said that almost every rally, that, it'll never go out of style. These are inventions that we'll always have with us, a wheel and a wall. And I never could really understand it, but I never tried to decode it either. So it matches JFK Jr. lives and all the things I just mentioned. Then projector from the previous sentence is 120. That equals Mr. Ray, and I got the correct pronunciation from a lady from Croatia that left me a message, which was so sweet. Because I've been saying Kosija, Koceja, and then I started saying Kosija, and I was just messing. I knew it was wrong, but I didn't know how to say it, because it's a name you'll see all the time when you decode in one way or another. So Mr. Ray, and it's called Katya, like Kotchya with all short vowels. So it sounds like Katya instead of Kosija, which is totally wrong. So anyway, it equals 120 also equals the truth. This is real. I love Mary. That's a great one. It matches Isaac Cappy, which I'm pretty sure Junior was, acting as Isaac Cappy during all that. Let's see. So Zapruder turned to us, this is the reporter talking, and said, are you ready? So, yes, are you ready is 138, which happens to be Donald Trump. Jesus unit, and I'm thinking, the thing that was in the limo that wasn't a real JFK, it was like a robotic thing. You can think of that as a unit. not really a person or part of a whole, a unit. Divine feminine, so I'm thinking Jackie. Queen of heaven. Let's see, 303, he said, the life reporter said, no way in that room that anybody could be ready for what was about to happen because they're just going to see the video for the first time. And no way equals 78, which is Kennedy. And that equals I feel good is 78. So he's not dead. He's feeling good. Believe me is 78. Like, believe me, I feel good. I'm not dead. Um, 305, turn it on, because they're talking about the projector in the movie, is 131, and that's John F. Kennedy. I mean, come on. This is just like it's almost redundant, right? But I shouldn't be surprised by now. Anyway, 131 is also the chosen one. Remember when President Trump was out talking to the press outside near Marine One, waiting to take off, and all the press is yelling questions and whatever. Anyway, so President Trump looks up to the sky and he puts his hand up, like the hands up, and he goes, "I am the chosen one," and he got such grief for that. But that's because he's part of JFK and Jr. They're all part of the Trinity. I know that sounds weird, but that's what's going on. Um, I know it's hard to accept even, but really, if you stop and think about all these coincidental matches and things that he said, it totally makes sense. Um, so John F. Kennedy equals, it's 131 and equals crucifixion and ascended master, like way beyond where we are, like up there already. And we're kind of creeping that way, but he's an ascended master. And that's why he was Jesus. Um, and then we have Mary Jesus, which is fascinating. So think about what that means. There's a Mrs. Jesus, like yeah, I don't think it wasn't just the man. It was like an equal part that was Mary. So I've been getting that a lot lately. Um, and then the life reporters said there was that familiar scene of the motorcade coming around the corner, then turning abruptly left. So I did abruptly left. It's 158, and it equals please forgive me. They want to be forgiven for all the trauma that they caused. And it matches, it's not you, because it wasn't him in the car. At 3:22, the reporter continues, then the presidential limo disappeared behind a huge road sign. Okay, well, that was planned. Everybody knew that this was going to happen. What do you think? Okay, so they're out of view for a while of everybody. So, what do you think happened? Um, and when it comes out from behind the road sign, the president has both fists jammed up underneath his chin. Well, that's when I think he was the not real person, at least at that moment, if not sooner. So it was like that. Um, so I did huge road sign 128. And I did this one a little bit earlier, but I think I want to talk about it again. So 128 is breaking news. Just kidding. April 1st. Miss me yet? And President Trump had a letter that he put out from Save America, those letters he puts out several times a day. And one of them was, Miss me yet? And that equals April 1st and breaking news. And it equals Independence Day, which I think is going to be a big deal, hopefully this year. And then I did underneath his chin was 180. And that equals another phrase that we heard a lot a while back, and that's flatten the curve. I don't think that's a coincidence. And then again, we have boom times 4. And because we did this one earlier too, but I like to repeat these when they're important. So underneath his chin at 180 also equals the near death experience. So they're emphasizing that by having another phrase in there that matches near death experience. Um, and then at 3:35, that was the signal that he had been hit by the first bullet. So I did that was the signal is 187. It equals Columbia Pictures, like the movie studio. So you remember, all this is a movie. And then another favorite Anon phrase, nothing to see here, 187. And then can you keep a secret is 187. And War of the Worlds is 187. And I've talked about this before. Go back on YouTube and listen to part of War of the Worlds and all the trauma. The whole world thought we were being invaded by aliens on this long radio broadcast. It wasn't real, but the people thought it was because that's all they could hear. So that's why I think, another reason why I think we're going to have the white hat FFs um, that happen, that people will freak out, and they'll go, God, help us. Anyway, and then at 3:45 for POTUS 45, and suddenly, that equals 123. And April Fools, now with an S. Conspiracy, and then 88. And 88 equals Trump, and it equals false flappy thing, plural, with an S. Okay, Trump equals that too. Let's see. What else do I have here that's scribbled? Yeah, I've got it equals Smith is God, and he was a prophet for the Mormons. And I think that there's a lot of prophets and a lot of um, leaders in different churches that should have been biblical, and being paid more attention to by all the religions. But that didn't happen. After a short time, nobody was written about anymore. But Joseph Smith said that they should buy all kinds of land, the Mormons should, near Jackson County, Missouri, and that's where he was told that Jesus would return at the second coming. And so they tried to buy land, but then they were tarred and feathered, the leaders were. It's horrible. And then the rest of them had to leave really quickly because they passed a law like so quick, and they didn't have any voice in the government. So they had to leave, all of them, at least back then. That was 1823, I think. And so I'm wondering if we're going to see anything happen in that county, Jackson County, Missouri, like a Trump rally or something else important that will happen in Jackson County, Missouri. So that would be interesting. So anyway, I'm going to continue what the reporter was talking about. Infamous frame 113, and that's the part where it looked like his head was exploding, and fake blood and wax and all this plastic and everything. It was not real. Infamous frame is 141. It equals Mr. President, dream come true, and end of story. So what one would hope, if you could just dream about this awful incident, was, oh, it would be so great if it didn't really happen, because that's what's going to happen. It wasn't real. And then end of story. Everybody will be happy. And then at 3:53, whole top of the president's head. So whole top is 114, and I already did that previously, but it equals JFK Jr., Trump card, and Kim Jong-un, and North Korea. I'm thinking North Korea, China, and Russia, and probably I was going to backwards. Iran will be involved in what looks like World War III, and there'll be fake nuclear missile attacks and all kinds of crud, you know. Um, then we have explodes up into the air is 256, and this one is awesome. So it also equals live in a scripted reality 256. That's what's going on. It's a scripted reality. Then conspiracy theorists, and that's 256. And remember that that term was invented, I think, through the CIA, and it was to fight people who didn't believe in the single shooter theory with the JFK incident. Because if you thought that there was more than one shooter, or that Lee Harvey Oswald didn't assassinate him, then you were called a conspiracy theorist. So that's where that comes from. And we're all called that now. So weird how it all ties together. And then the reporter, Life reporter, says 2 agents, grizzled, and 1 not so grizzled reporter. And that was him. He was young at the time. So he's talking about 3 people again, like the Trinity, kind of a reference towards the Trinity. But grizzled was said twice. So I figured out what that was. So one grizzle, I didn't multiply it times 2 or anything, is 107. And like we've done this one before too, but I got a couple of other interesting ones as I looked at it again. Castle Rock is 107, and that's the studio where we think or one of the 2, where we think the White House is being portrayed out in Hollywood. So yeah, Castle Rock has that big White House set, and we've seen action going on out there, and it looks like the press out on the Rose Garden lawn, and you know, all that. And there's nothing supposed to be going on there because that's supposed to be a shut down set. So it doesn't make any sense for them to be producing a movie with the White House because it's not supposed to be running right now. So that's Castle Rock. So now we have also 107 is Disneyland, and that goes back to, you know, movies. I mean, Disney produces movies and TV shows, but it's also kind of a reference back to my Hall of Presidents, where the presidents are life-size and they're talking and giving speeches and they're moving and their mouth is moving reasonably well. And that's the kind of animation I think they used for JFK. And he probably didn't have to move too much because it probably wasn't really there until it looked like it was shot, you know. Life Goes On is 107, and Earthquake, Ring of Fire, and Solar Flare, which would be an EMP in the worst case. So we could be told, like, oh, and the power might go out, and you'll be, oh yeah, there's an EMP, and everybody's out of power now for the next X amount of time, and you'll be like, what? Or, oh, there's earthquakes everywhere, and, you know, it's disrupted the water everywhere, and, you know, and oh, I don't know what's going to happen. And then at 417, all reacted with, ugh, because they saw finally what happened in the video, the Zapruder film. Well, ugh equals 36, and you reverse that, it's 63, the year this all supposedly happened. Well, scam is 36. Be calm is 36. And Babbitt, Babbitt, is 36. And remember the Ashley Babbitt person who supposedly was Killed at the 1/6/2021 Capitol insurrection, supposedly. Well, that was like a white hat thing. And Ashley Babbitt was like an actress, I'm sure. There was no real person named Ashley Babbitt, because what she matches is scam and be calm, you know. Then 423, we have simultaneously gut punched, because they all saw the Zapruder film at the same time and they all felt horrible. So that equaled 119. It equals 119 is electric brain, okay? He wasn't real in the limo. It was an electric brain. It was like something that was just making him move, like his mouth or his eyes. Um, Not dead, you know. And then the reporter said at 4:55, no way in hell that Life, meaning his magazine, is not going to wind up with that film, i.e. movie to me. No way in hell is 138. Donald Trump is 138. Lord Ray Kochia, I was always saying Kosija, Kochia is 138. So at 5:35, other reporters were behaving really badly, and they were banging on the door as these guys were in there seeing the movie. And banging on the door is 168. Lived in disguise is 168. The Trump of God, 168. And Don John Trump is 168. So at 5:55, which is definitely comms because there's fives everywhere, if we have to go any higher than that 50,000, because that's what he's referring to, I'll have to call New York. So call New York is 139. You found me is 139. Forgiveness is 139. 007, 139. An eye for an eye is also 139. Remember, that's POTUS's favorite Bible phrase or Bible quote. And everybody laughed about it because, like, oh, you don't know anything if that's what you picked out. But he knew it was going to go on, all this crud before he got there. So an eye for an eye is equal justice. So I think that's what he's, why this all matches. Let's see, not happening is 139. And President Trump says that all the time. So when he says that, he's saying, forgiveness, you found me, 007, and shocking ending is 139. So then at 6 minutes, let's do it. Zapruder said that to the others. So JFK Jr. alive matches that at 104. Big Brother, 104. And remember, I'm always saying that Jr. is the older of the twins, JFK and himself. Electronic for the brain and the parts working is 104. So this reporter says at 6:03, so I sat down at his typewriter and typed out a 9-line contract. And then he said some more. And then he said, most famous home movie in American history. And home movie is 105. So like a fake, right? 105, home movie. Ashley Babbitt is 105, which means it's fake. Okay? All is well, like everywhere. All is well is 105. So talk about Junior, JFK, Ashley Babbitt, all kinds of these things. All is well. Don't worry about it. Brothers, 105. Body Double, 105. St. John's, 105. And Chinese War is 105. So, another false flappy thing. So it's 6:22. That the reporter says that week's issue of Life was, he's continuing, but that's where I stopped it. It's 126. Issue of Life is 126. 107 is 126. Lord Christ, 126. 45, 126. Todd Burgun, Burgun, and that's who Junior called in as a Coast Guard representative to Susan Warnick again, the woman who took the glasses off for when Junior was, I think, when he was pronounced gone. Yeah, so he called into her and disguised his voice a little bit, but you could tell it was John. So I've listened to that many times, that clip. So anyway, called as Todd Bergun, and that was 126. So in other words, that was fake. And then we have the odd thing that comes up all the time is Trump, and then I'll spell it DEA, pause, TH. Like, X's on the eyes and you're not breathing and all that. That's 126 as well. And I think it's going to look like poisoning. Um, Not 100% sure or anything, but it sure comes up quite often with him. Um, and it'll be like fake. It won't be real. And he'll be fine, so don't freak out about it. And then back to the fake things, we have earthquakes. This is war is 126, and that's FAKE as well. And then I did the part where he said that issue of Life was already on press, so they made black and white copies. So we didn't get it in color. They made nice size, but they were black and white pictures of each frame that they had. So at 644, they did not publish the headshot from frame 313. Life magazine later published that particular frame. And he said at 653, which is reverse 35, he said it's ironic. Basically, he's saying it's ironic that Life, Life magazine got the picture of what looked like a death of the president. So ironic is 68 equals Pixar, which is like animated. I'm pretty sure it's only animated, but maybe it's more. But it's a movie studio. Then another part of what the reporter said was, got this film, that's 138, and it equals Donald Trump, as usual. It's happening, that he says all the time, 138. And the majesty of the still pictures is 183. It'll be over soon is 180. Did I do that right? Oh, I might have had that backwards. Let's strike what those last couple were. It'll be over soon. Order out of chaos. Two families rise. I might have switched at 707 to 183 with still pictures. I think that's what I did. So two families rise, 183. And Kim Clement, Prophet Kim Clement, talked about that years ago, that two families soon would rise. And that's likely the Trumps and the Kennedys. At 722, if it had been, meaning the photos and all that that they got from Mr. Zapruder, if it had been shown the first time as a motion picture, again with a movie reference, and he paused and he said, we showed them as pictures, and those cemented themselves into the American psyche. So there were single black and white photos, probably big ones, of what happened, minute or second after second from the video. And that's what was printed in the big Life magazine and in black and white. It must have been quite something to see that. And like they said a minute ago, they didn't use what they called the headshot of frame 313 because it would be too upsetting. And then later on, Life magazine did do it at some point. So let's see. So motion picture was 178, but also O positive blood is 178. And you may not remember, but a friend of mine from comments sent me a photo of the real blood ID card that I don't know if you want to call them underclassmen or what, but that the ones in Congress had to have on file so that if something happened to them, then the emergency services or whoever was taking care of them would know what blood type they were. And that's back when everybody was talking about negative this and that. And anyway, this is kind of like backing up the idea that I had of the O positive blood, and it's 178. And anyway, it had been in the Gettysburg Museum and a couple of other places, and then I think it went out into private hands. I might be wrong about that, but so it was authenticated, that it was real. And then some people on comments have said, well, what if they changed that to keep his blood type secret? Well, I don't know. At some point, you have to start believing something. You can always say, well, that might not be right, and that might not be right, and then you go right back where everything that you're reading might not be right, which is kind of true. I mean, you have to decide who to trust, but I don't know. If you want to think it's negative blood, go ahead, but I'm thinking it's O positive blood, because I decided, okay, I have to start believing something, and I didn't hear evidence for the other side. I didn't see or hear about hard evidence like this one. So to me, this seems more legitimate. Okay, so then the bells started ringing again, and there was nothing. Nobody's talking, and that was like 128. And breaking news, April 1st again. And then at 8 minutes, Abe Zapruder was haunted by the fact that he shot that film. So Abe Zapruder was haunted is 233, which equals John Fitzgerald Kennedy. I wonder how that happened. Yeah, and it also matches MK Ultra Mind Control. It's at 233. So if you have that wrong, or if you don't know what that means, look it up. It's easy to look that up. MK Ultra Mind Control. And here's another one that's 233, and it's false evidence appearing as real. So I thought that was really cool. And the last page is he shot that film. He felt haunted that he was the one that shot that film. Is 164, and that equals intermission for our movie, right? So intermission, and over the target is 164. So I feel like we're over the target, you guys. Square, this is interesting. Square the circle. In other words, take a circle, turn it into a square. And at the end of this video, it was right near the end when you find all this with square the circle. It's all capitals, and it's the company that produced this video clip, and it's called Red Border Films. And the O in border is made into a square. So that's how coded this stuff is. So you've got a phrase here that he shot that film 164. It also equals square the circle. I mean, come on, this is so coded. And then it matches 164 matches July 16, and let's see, nothing wrong is 164. So nothing happened in the plane crash or either of the plane crashes with Joseph Patrick or Junior. I think they're the same person. And yeah, in the limo and all that. So to me, because of all this and the Red Border Films and all that decoding and all, to me, this isn't just a perchance kind of video. This is like an alliance produced video, or what you could call a white hat video, to put comms out there and to also reassure people that aren't really paying enough attention to go through this kind of stuff. Um, so anyway, enjoy that. I hope you look at it. It was really good. So it was for Time magazine is in the title, but it's really about Life magazine negotiating for um, the Mr. Zapruder's film. Like I said, it's called Zapruder Film 313, and it's the JFK assassination, and then slash 100 photos, and then slash time, all capitals. So, anyway, hope you enjoyed that. I'm losing my voice. I'm going to try to tape another one for another day, so let's see what happens. I'll put something else on because if I wear the same thing, people get so confused. I'm not trying to be sneaky, but it's too confusing if I got the same stuff on. And my bling, I got my bling, and this is much more manageable than the other day. It was tough. I kept getting caught up in it and everything. So, oh, and I got more bling. Look, I got more bling. Can you see? I don't know if you can see. Yeah, I got a band-aid because I cut myself right before. So anyway, enough details about me that you don't need to know about. So I love you, and I hope you have fun. Either, just have a glass of champagne or sparkling water, whatever, midnight. It's not tonight, but, when it's New Year's. And just try to think about the good things. Try to think about the positive things that are going to be happening. And, you know, it's just a matter of time. And everybody's going to be fine. And we'll find out things when we're supposed to. So we shouldn't get anxious about it. And, everybody just love each other and take care of each other. Okay? So remember, I love you. Okay, have a good night or day. Bye.